They taught you that Zeus was the hero who saved Olympus, the mighty king of gods who defeated the Titans and brought order to the universe, but they never told you what Zeus saved his siblings from. They never explained why his father, Cronos, the king of the Titans, became the most paranoid ruler in all of mythology. This is the story of a father who ate his own children alive, and the prophecy that drove him to madness. Welcome back to Keros Mythos, where we uncover the truths the ancient world tried to bury. Let's go back to the very beginning, before Zeus, before the gods you know even existed. In the beginning there were the primordial beings, Chaos, the void, Gaia, the earth herself, Uranus, the sky. These weren't gods as we understand them. They were the universe itself taking form. Gaia and Uranus had children. The first were the Titans, massive beings of incredible power, 12 of them. Oceanus, god of the great river encircling the world. Hyperion, titan of light. Theia, titaness of sight. Caius, Crius, Phoebe, Tethys, Themis, Mnemosyne, and Iapetus. And then there were two more. Rhea, titaness of fertility and motherhood, but Uranus wasn't done. After the Titans came more children, the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants who could forge weapons of unimaginable power, and the Hecatonchires, hundred-handed monsters of pure strength. And here's where the first tragedy begins. Uranus looked at these later children, the Cyclopes and Hecatonchires, and he was disgusted. They were too monstrous, too powerful, too unpredictable. So he did something unforgivable. He imprisoned them. Deep in Tartarus, the darkest pit of the underworld, a place so far below the earth that an anvil dropped from the surface would fall for 9 days before hitting bottom. He locked his own children in eternal darkness and torment. Gaia, their mother, was horrified. These were her children, and her husband had condemned them to suffering for the crime of existing. So she made a plan, a terrible, violent plan. She created a weapon from the hardest material she could forge, a massive sickle made of adamantine, unbreakable and eternally sharp. She went to her Titan children and asked, "Who among you has the courage to free your brothers? Who will stand against your father?" 11 Titans stayed silent. They feared Uranus too much. But Cronos, the youngest, stepped forward. He took the sickle, and he waited. That night, when Uranus came to lie with Gaia, Cronos struck. With one brutal swing, he castrated his own father. The sky god's blood fell to the earth, and from those drops were born the Furies, spirits of vengeance, and the giants. From the severed parts that fell into the sea, foam gathered, and from that foam emerged Aphrodite, goddess of love born from an act of violence. Uranus, wounded and diminished, retreated to the heavens. Before he left, he looked at Cronos with hatred and spoke a prophecy, a curse. "As you have overthrown me, so too shall you be overthrown by your own son." Cronos became the new king. The age of the Titans began, and for a time it was glorious. This was the golden age, a time of prosperity and peace. Humans lived without suffering, without toil, without death from old age. The earth gave freely. There was no war, no hunger, no pain. Cronos ruled with his sister wife Rhea by his side. Everything should have been perfect. But that prophecy haunted him. Every day, every night, those words echoed in his mind. "Your own son will overthrow you. Your own son will overthrow you." He couldn't forget it, couldn't ignore it. The same way he had betrayed his father, his own child would betray him. It was destiny, it was inevitable. Or was it? Cronos made a decision, a horrifying, desperate decision. If his children were destined to overthrow him, then he simply wouldn't let them grow up. He would eliminate the threat before it could even begin. When Rhea gave birth to their first child, a daughter named Hestia, goddess of the hearth and home, Cronos took the infant, and he swallowed her whole, alive. Rhea was devastated. Their second child was born, third child, fourth child, fifth child, 5 children, 5 gods, all imprisoned alive in their father's belly, trapped in an eternal darkness, unable to die, unable to grow, unable to escape. Think about what that means. These weren't corpses. They were immortal beings, fully conscious, aware, trapped inside their father's body for years, decades, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to do anything but exist in that living tomb. Rhea was broken. Every child she brought into the world was immediately taken from her. Every birth was followed by loss. The pain of motherhood twisted into an endless nightmare. But when she became pregnant for the 6th time, she knew she couldn't let it happen again. She couldn't watch another child disappear into Cronos's throat. She had to do something. So she went to Gaia, her mother, the earth itself, and together they made a plan. When the 6th child was born, a son named Zeus, Rhea hid him. She took him to a cave on the island of Crete, far from Cronos's reach. There, he would be raised in secret by nymphs and fed on the milk of a divine goat named Amalthea. His cries were masked by the Curetes, warriors who clashed their shields and spears to create noise. But Rhea still had to face Cronos. He would demand to see the child. He would know if she tried to hide it. So she took a large stone, wrapped it in swaddling clothes, and presented it to Cronos as their newborn son. And Cronos, so consumed by paranoia, so certain of his need to destroy any threat, didn't even look closely. He took the bundle and swallowed it whole. A stone. He swallowed a stone, believing it was his child. For years, Zeus grew in secret. He trained, he learned, he became strong, and when he was finally ready, he returned. Zeus needed allies. He needed a plan, and he needed a way to free his siblings from inside Cronos's body. Gaia told him of Metis, a titaness of wisdom and cunning. Metis created a powerful potion, a mixture that would make even an immortal titan vomit uncontrollably. Zeus approached Cronos, disguised as a cupbearer. He offered him a drink. Cronos, unsuspecting, drank deeply, and then the potion took effect. Cronos began to retch, to convulse, and from his mouth came the stone first, the one he'd swallowed thinking it was Zeus. Then, one by one, his children emerged. Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, Hestia, fully grown, furious, and ready for war. The prophecy had come true. Cronos' own son had returned to overthrow him. What followed was the Titanomachy, the 10-year war between the Olympians and the Titans. Zeus freed the Cyclopes from Tartarus, and they forged weapons of incredible power. For Zeus, the lightning bolt; for Poseidon, the trident; for Hades, a helmet of invisibility. The battles shook the cosmos. Mountains crumbled, seas boiled, the sky itself seemed to tear apart. In the end, the Olympians won. Zeus and his siblings defeated Cronos and most of the Titans. And Zeus did to his father exactly what Cronos had feared. He overthrew him, cast him into Tartarus, that same prison where Uranus had locked the Cyclopes and Hecatonchires. Cronos, the king who devoured his children to avoid his fate, was imprisoned in the deepest darkness, defeated by the very sun he'd tried to prevent from existing. But here's what they don't tell you in the myths, and it's a detail that changes everything about the story of Zeus and Cronos. The cycle of father versus son didn't end there. In fact, Zeus was destined to suffer the exact same fate as his father and grandfather. A prophecy foretold that he too would be overthrown by his own son. But Zeus learned from Cronos' mistakes. He wouldn't swallow his children. He'd find another way. A more cunning, more permanent way to break the cycle. And that's a story for another time. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the dark heart of Greek myth. If you want to uncover more of the stories they never taught you in school, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We'll see you in the next one. Cronos wasn't always a monster. That's the part history forgets. When he first took the throne from Uranus, he didn't rule through fear. He created the Golden Age, remember? A time when humanity lived in peace and abundance, when the earth provided freely and people didn't know suffering. So what happened? How did the king of the Golden Age become a father who ate his own children? The answer is simple: fear. That prophecy Uranus spoke wasn't just words. It was a curse that infected Cronos' mind like a poison. Every time he looked at Rhea, he wondered, will our child be the one? Every time she became pregnant, the paranoia grew stronger. He didn't want to hurt his children. Not at first, but the prophecy was absolute. It said his son would overthrow him, just as he had overthrown Uranus. And if mythology teaches us anything, it's that you cannot escape prophecy. The gods themselves are bound by fate. So Cronos made a choice. He chose his throne over his children. He chose his power over his family. And that choice transformed him into the tyrant he feared becoming. Here's the tragedy: the prophecy only came true because Cronos tried to prevent it. If he had simply accepted his fate, if he had raised his children with love instead of swallowing them in fear, maybe things would have been different. Maybe Zeus would never have rebelled. But by trying to avoid his destiny, Cronos guaranteed it. His paranoia created the very enemy he feared. Every child he swallowed became another reason for Zeus to hate him. Every act of violence made the final confrontation inevitable. This is the cruel irony of Greek mythology. The gods and titans, beings of immense power, are still slaves to fate. They can see their doom coming and they cannot stop it. Every attempt to change destiny only makes it happen faster. And it didn't end with Cronos. This cycle of violence, of fathers fearing their sons, of prophecy driving people to madness, it continued. Remember what happened to Zeus? After he defeated Cronos and took the throne of Olympus, he received his own prophecy. Metis, that same Titaness who helped him defeat Cronos, became pregnant with his child. And the prophecy said that Metis would bear 2 children. First, a daughter, then a son who would overthrow Zeus, just as Zeus had overthrown Cronos, just as Cronos had overthrown Uranus. And what did Zeus do? The king of the gods, who had fought to free his siblings from their father's stomach, who had waged a 10-year war against tyranny. He swallowed Metis whole, pregnant and all. The cycle repeated. The student became the teacher. The victim became the abuser. Zeus, who suffered because his father couldn't escape prophecy, made the exact same choice. But there's a difference. Metis' daughter, Athena, wasn't destroyed. She continued to grow inside Zeus's head, and when she was ready, she burst out, fully formed and armored, from Zeus's skull. The prophecy was partially fulfilled, but changed. Athena never overthrew Zeus. She became his favorite child, his greatest ally. The son was never born. Zeus, by swallowing Metis, prevented that part of the prophecy. Unlike Cronos, he succeeded in changing fate. Or did he? Maybe the prophecy was never about a literal son. Maybe it was about the consequences of Zeus's own actions, his affairs, his violence, eventually leading to his downfall. That's the thing about prophecies. They're never as simple as they seem. But let's go back to Cronos. What happened to him after the Titanomachy? Most versions of the myth say Zeus imprisoned him in Tartarus, that terrible abyss where Uranus had locked the Cyclopes. Cronos, who once ruled the Golden Age, spent eternity in chains and darkness. Justice, perhaps. Or just the continuation of a cycle of violence. But some versions tell a different story. They say that eventually Zeus forgave Cronos, that the king of Olympus released his father and sent him to rule the Isles of the Blessed, a paradise where the greatest heroes go after death. There, Cronos finally found peace, ruling over a land of eternal happiness, far from prophecies and fear. I like to think that second version is true, because it means the cycle can be broken, that forgiveness is possible, that even gods can learn from their mistakes. But the truth is, we don't know which version is real. Maybe both are. Maybe in some timelines, Cronos rots in Tartarus forever, and in others, he finds redemption. What we do know is this: Cronos' story is a warning about what fear can do to us, about how trying to control the future can destroy the present, about how violence begets violence and prophecy becomes self-fulfilling. Cronos devoured his children because he was afraid of them. But by doing so, he guaranteed they would hate him. He created his own worst enemy. His fear turned him into the monster the prophecy always said he would become. And here's something to think about. The ancient Greeks told this story not just as entertainment, but as a lesson. They understood that power corrupts, that rulers who fear losing their throne will commit atrocities to keep it, that tyranny, even when motivated by fear rather than malice, is still tyranny. Cronos thought he was protecting himself. He thought he was being strategic, eliminating threats before they could grow. But all he did was traumatize his children and ensure they would rise against him the moment they had the chance. The Golden Age died, not because of prophecy, but because of fear. The peace and prosperity Cronos created was destroyed by his own paranoia. He had everything, and he threw it away because he couldn't trust the future. And that's the real tragedy of Cronos. Not that he was defeated, not that he lost his throne, but that he destroyed his own golden age with his own hands. He was given paradise, and he turned it into a prison. There's another layer to this story that often gets overlooked. Rhea, the mother. Imagine her perspective. 6 times she gave birth. 6 times she held her children, these divine beings, these immortal gods. And 5 times she watched her husband rip them from her arms and swallow them alive. The grief must have been unbearable. Every mother's instinct screaming at her to protect her babies, and she was powerless. Cronos was too strong. She couldn't fight him, couldn't stop him. But with Zeus, she finally found the courage to resist. She tricked Cronos, saved her youngest child, and set in motion the events that would eventually free all her children and end the Golden Age's dark secret. Rhea is the silent hero of this story. Without her, there would be no Zeus, no Olympus. The Titans would still rule, and Cronos would still be swallowing any child who posed a threat. She turned her pain into action, her loss into rebellion, and she won. So when you hear the myths of Zeus and the Olympians, remember, it all started with a mother who refused to lose another child, with a father consumed by fear, with a prophecy that became true precisely because someone tried to prevent it. Cronos wasn't born evil. He was a victim of fate who became a monster through his own choices. And his story reminds us that the things we fear most are often the things we create ourselves. The Titan who devoured his children, the king who destroyed his own golden age, the father who guaranteed his own downfall. That's the truth about Cronos. Not a simple villain, but a tragic figure destroyed by prophecy and paranoia. And that's the kind of story they don't teach you in school. The complicated, dark, human truth behind the myths. This is Keros Mythos, and this is the story the Golden Age was built on. A foundation of fear, violence, and children screaming in darkness. Remember Cronos, not as a monster, but as a warning about what we become when we let fear control us. When we sacrifice everything to hold on to power, when we try to cheat fate and only make it worse. The cycle can be broken, but first, you have to be willing to trust, to let go, to accept that the future is uncertain, and that's okay. Cronos never learned that lesson, and it cost him everything. What other dark truths from Greek mythology should I uncover next? Drop your suggestions in the comments. I'm Keros Mythos, and I'll see you in the next myth.